Hey there, welcome to the latest episode of Hiker Homily. Today I'm going to continue the series on Leave No Trace, the principles and guidelines. And I'm going to do a whole episode later on why they're guidelines, not trail laws or something like that. But this time we're going to talk about principle number 2, which is hike or travel, as they say, travel and camp on a durable surface. What does that even mean? So that's what we're doing, if I don't fall on my butt. So when we talk about a durable surface, especially for traveling, what they really should say is hiking. That's what we're talking about, usually for Leave No Trace. But I know that they try to apply it to things like camping and stuff too. So I guess if you were driving out to a place to camp, they want you to use a durable surface. And what they really mean is this. You know, a hiking trail that, as you can see, has already been established. You can see that the ground is, without vegetation compared to all the stuff around it. And so instead of taking a whole new path, say through there or out into there and breaking branches, crushing stuff underfoot, destroying pretty stuff like that, no, you use the trails that are established. That's one of the things that this gets kind of to the heart of. The one issue I have with Leave No Trace principles is the fact that it's called Leave No Trace. Because from the get-go, that's impossible. It's not going to happen. It is impossible for humans to go into a wilderness and absolutely leave zero trace. But they called it that anyway, so that's what we've got to work with. It's still some pretty good principles, suggestions, guidelines to follow when you're out there if you can. But yeah, so the durable surface. A lot of people who have heard about the LNT principles, they know the durable surface thing, especially when camping. But they forget that it says to travel and camp on durable surfaces. It's not just the hiking part, or the camping part, rather. It's also the hiking part. Or if you're trying to get to a campground, the driving part. Try not to bushwhack or drive cross-country through things. Because, see, all of this, if you know anything about nature, that's a habitat. The more habitat you destroy, the less resources are there for the creatures that live in that habitat. For all you know, some of those plants may be fairly endangered in the area for whatever reason. There could be animals that rely on those plants that are semi-endangered. And you just stomping on through, killing them, just puts them that more in danger. And makes them that more rare, and that's just not right. So really that's the whole thing, is it's not just for camping. Yes, camping, absolutely. But also when you're traveling. So hiking, driving, wherever, to get to these sites. Use the established trails and the established roads. Oh, I know, but especially if you're a through hiker, you know what a PUD is, a pointless up and down. It would be much easier to just cut through here. Well, unfortunately, that's not what the trail was set up to do. Whoever designed the trail made you go down here and then back up here when you could have just gone this way. Well, the trail's not established that way. So sorry, you're going to do the PUD if you really are following the principles as best you can of Leave No Trace. Because sometimes you just don't know. There's something going on there, usually in the mind of the person who designs the trail. And a lot of times is I can't drive it through, I can't put the trail through there because that's a such and such habitat. So we're going to move it around. Yes, that's an extra down into the ravine and then climb back up again that they didn't have to do. But it's more important to make it safe for the creature bee that lives there, whatever it is. So we're going to do that. So there you go. You end up with a slightly longer trail. And scratching your head years later when you're hiking it, trying to figure out why in the world do I have to go all the way over there and down and back up again when I could just go this way. Well, the trail doesn't go that way, that's why. And you may not know exactly why the trail doesn't go that way, but hopefully the trail designers do. Now, I will 100% admit that sometimes the trail designers were just idiots. All right, that's a harsh word. They didn't think it through. They just decided, I'm wandering through the woods and this is how I'm going to go. And at the time, that was the path of least resistance. So we went this way and down into the ravine and then back up again. And then when they did that a few times and established the trail, they realized, oh crap, I could have put it over there and just, oh well, we're established now, so let's just go with it. Yes, that can happen. That's still no excuse to just say, screw it, I'm going to bushwhack through all of this. So you can see the habitat. It is. I'm trying to get over there. Now, the straight line, straight across, that would be shorter. Less time in the sun. But I know that this is a wetland during certain seasons. And right now it's habitat for, I already saw a riparian brush rabbit, which is an endangered species in this area. So, you know, cutting through it would end up damaging certain things, possibly startling, like say this riparian brush rabbit out of its safety area, and then once it's out of its safety area, a predator could come along, swoop him up. Everything's connected. That's part of the whole, if you know an ecosystem, ecosystems are connected to each other. You mess with one part of it, it's a ripple effect. The entire thing ends up getting messed with. So, yeah. That's why we don't do things like just cut straight across. Not to mention the fact that during wet season, there is no straight across. This is all underwater. But even during dry season, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to cut across. I'm going to follow the trail, and then I'll go that way. Takes a little longer. That's just how it is. It's the best way to do it, because I do try to follow, as best as I can, the leave no trace principles as a guideline. That's really the big thing for hiking, especially. That was the point I wanted to get across is most people get the whole camping thing. Okay, I'm going to camp in an established area. For example, there's no camping allowed here at the Cosumnes River Preserve. But if there were, I'm going to camp in this area here that's already basically established. Yes, that's the trail. I'm just using it as an example. You know, an area like that that's already beaten down, the vegetation is gone. There are a few spots around here you could do it. I would not go out here and camp and squash down the grass and maybe rip things up and all that kind of stuff to make a camping spot for me. It's not established because, again, you're destroying that part of the ecosystem. You have no idea what little, sanctuaries or habitats are in that spot for the insect life and things like that. And the animals that eat the insects would then be affected, and those animals that get eaten by other predators would then be affected, etc., etc. It's a chain. It really is. And so we don't do it. You're going to camp on the established thing. And like I say, most people get that part. It's the traveling part everyone seems to forget. Now I hear a bunch of people, oh, that's one of my joys. I go out there in the wilderness and I just bushwhack. Okay. Like I said, leave no trace isn't a law. And I'm not going to preach at you about leave no trace. If I see some guy bushwhacking, it's on them. What I think about him and my level of respect for him, it's up to me. And I'll have it. Am I going to jump on their case about it? No, because it's not my job. I'm not a ranger. Unless I see them doing something totally insane, like trying to start a fire or something in the middle of all that dry grass, then I'd say something because they're being a complete freaking moron at that point. But just simple, he comes out of the trees bushwhacking. Yeah, I'll be thinking things in my head. But oh well, that's just how it is. Because I know there's the other half of the people like, hey man, hike your own hike, just leave them alone. Yeah. The only problem is, as usual, that is, then we're going to get into this with one of the other leave no trace principles, is that hiker mentality of I'm the only one. It's just one guy bushwhacking through a field. It's no big deal. Yeah, right now it's just one guy bushwhacking through a field. Then 2 hours later, another hiker comes along and, man, that's kind of long to go around. Oh, I already see a little path there. There's some of that grass is squashed down. Somebody has walked through here before. Well, F it then. I'm going to do it too. Now, we've had 2 guys go through that field. Next person comes along. Another person wants the shortcut. It's already kind of squashed down. Pretty soon you've got a newly established trail through an area that shouldn't have a trail. You've destroyed that ecosystem, that part of the ecosystem, with enough people. Because it's not just one guy. It never is. More people use these trails than just you, and you have to realize that. So if you do it, other people may do it as well. Pretty soon you've got large amounts of damage. That's the concern. So really there it is in a nutshell for principle number 2. Travel and camp on a durable surface. They're talking about the established trails and the established roads, and also even if they're primitive campsites, the established campsites. And as far as the campsites go, that also includes things like fire rings and stuff. If you happen upon one where there is an established fire ring, there you go. It's established. If you're at a campsite and there isn't one, building one, not great, because you're going to be having to go out off the established durable territory to find the rocks, the firewood, and all that kind of thing. And so there you go, damaging the ecosystem again. And that's really what Leave No Trace is about, is trying to save that ecosystem so that it stays there as an ecosystem. Pretty soon nobody wants to walk that trail anymore because there's no wildlife, and it's all just kind of a barren thing with a whole bunch of trails running through it all over the place. And I've seen places like that. I've seen places where you go and it's just ridiculous, unfortunately. There's trails crisscrossing all over the place. Most of them are not official. They're just so people decided, screw it, I wanted to go that way. So they did. So, Leave No Trace, number 2. Travel and camp on a durable surface. There it is. The whole goal, of course, is to leave as little of a new marker as possible. Like I said at the beginning, it's not possible, and I'll go into this in detail later, to absolutely leave 0 trace. But minimize what traces you do leave. You can do that if you stick to the established trails. That's a durable surface, and that's what I'm walking on. I'm not gonna, even though I'm trying to get over there, I'm gonna follow this trail. I'm not gonna cut through here, because that's just gonna damage what is an amazing habitat for all kinds of life that I've seen. Rabbits, coyotes, turkeys, numerous birds. They're just all over out here. And even me just walking through there, if I start another trail like that, it's going to take away that strip of land from the ecosystem. So there you go. All right, so that's the guideline number 2 for Leave No Trace. I hope it was a bit helpful. as usual, got your own stories about that, or you can somehow respectfully decide to talk about how you'll walk wherever you want because you're so amazing. If you can find a way to do that respectfully and without sounding like a jerk, well, other than that, any other stories about durable surfaces or things you've seen or heard, let me know in the comments down below. And all that good stuff. And of course, always at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. And also, as always, thank you so much for keeping track of this goofy channel. And I'll catch you later.